you and thank you for participating tonight. You honor the Bellaire Community Group and the voters of Volusia County. We're going to go with an opening statement of 2 minutes, questions and closing 2 minutes, right across the board. We're going to rotate the sequence from my left to right, your right to left. Just pass the mic, I believe, because we only have a couple that work. Closing statements will begin promptly at 7:20, and we're going to begin tonight with Deb Dennis with your opening statement.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for coming out to listen to us. This has kind of been our lineup for the last several nights, and we appreciate you being here. I am Deb Dennis. I've served on your council for 8 years, and I was asked about 15, 16 months ago if I was going to run again. Was I going to get in the race? And I said no, and I really meant it 15, 16 months ago. But as I stayed in the community and stayed engaged and working collaboratively within our cities and within the state, I currently serve at the state level in the Florida Communities Trust, responsible for the Florida Forever money. We granted about $24 million in grants this last go around. But as a trustee, when I got the applications, there's all around the state. And the counties, the cities, I look for Volusia in our counties, in our county, our cities, our green groups. And you know how many we had on that big notebook and $34 million in applications? Zero. And in my opinion, we're without excuse. Volusia has Volusia Forever. We have ECHO. We agreed to tax ourselves for these projects, right? So talking with cities and groups and nonprofits and business groups, and just having conversations over the table and meetings, I kept saying, Deb, sure wish you were still on council. Deb, would you consider getting, I kept saying no. Finally, there was one conversation that made me say, okay, let's take a look at this. Let's take a serious look. So at the last minute, the last week I filed, I'm Deb Dennis, and I'm in because I believe, and this is not just campaign rhetoric, Volusia's best days are yet ahead. I see what's on the horizon. I have a vision for Volusia. Hopefully you can see what I see, and let's work together to make Volusia's best days yet ahead. Thanks for listening.
Well, good evening. Thank you all for coming out. I'm Randy Dye, and one of the things that will distinguish me from the rest is this is my first public campaign for a public election. I've never run a public campaign. I've spent 42 years in our community growing a business. I've owned the business since 1997, and I've really, I think the thing that I want to say is what I bring to this is a business perspective. You know, we have a $1.3 billion budget, depends on how it all shakes out. It's a big number either way, and I think that over all those years of different things that I've served on, there's a part of my experience that is helping the underserved of our community. There's a lot of different organizations I've been a part of, and then there's the business side that helps to try to bring business, new businesses, new jobs, better job creation to our community. One of the things that I want you to know that I've been appointed by the governor and still serve on the board of trustees at Daytona State College. We've been successful for 14 consecutive years of not raising tuition. And you know, that's a pretty big deal, to have a college to be able to provide a good education. And oh, by the way, it's not always the 4-year degree. It's HVAC, it's welding, we do all kinds of certificate programs where they can get an education and get to work and not start life with debt. So very proud of that. At the end of the day, I think the most significant difference, everybody here has had political experience, and that's a good thing. And I think not having political experience is a better thing.
What's the yellow light mean?
15 seconds.
Oh. Stand too close to
I
speak.
think I was supposed to explain that.
I probably missed it.
Don't do that again.
Hi, my name is Jeff Brower. I am your current Volusia County Chair. I grew up here in Daytona Beach. I worked on this beach for 10 years as a kid. Became the one of two of the first EMTs on the beach, me and my friend John Crisp. And got married in 1985 and moved to DeLeon Springs, started a farm. Actually, I moved in 1980, married my wife in 1980 farm. And we have a direct-to-consumer farm. We grow vegetables, we have cows, we have chickens for eggs, and we sell directly to the public. It's an organic farm. So I love the land. And the land became very important to me, and saving enough land in Volusia County where we would not lose our quality of life, and I didn't see that happening. So I decided to do something completely out of my comfort zone and run for office. And with your help, the voters of Volusia County, I was able to win that. And it's been probably the greatest experience of my life. Because I'll tell you why. It's because it gives me the opportunity to meet people all over Volusia County, and that's really encouraging. When I see the quality of the people that we have here and the intelligence that you have, I see a great future for Volusia County. So when I told my kids that I was going to run for re-election, their question was, can anybody guess? Why? Why would you want to do it again? And the reason is because we made tremendous progress. There's a lot of good things happening in Volusia County, but there's still work that needs to be done. And you need a voice. Florida is growing rapidly, and Volusia County is one of the top 5 fastest growing counties in the state. You need a voice, because I don't think you do, I know I don't, want to become Miami-Dade, Orlando, Jacksonville. Jeff Brower, thank you for being here.
Well, good evening, everybody. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. My name is Don Burnett. I am the current mayor in the city of Port Orange. I am running for Volusia County Chair. I was born here. Let me ask, how many people in the room were born here? That usually is a reaction. Usually most everybody's from somewhere else. Even my wife moved here when she was 5. I tell her that doesn't count. She's not a native. But I've been here since I was 5. No, you're not a native, babe. It doesn't count. But doesn't matter. We're all invested in this community. My dad still lives in the same house just across the bridge, across from Sunnyland Park, down Mason Park Drive, that my mom and dad bought in 1964. They flooded out. They came down, they stayed with us for a few months, and what was very tough for them at the time actually was a hidden blessing, because we didn't know it at the time. My mom was in her final throes. We had time breaking bread together that reminded us of the value of family, the value of community, and that wouldn't have happened. I mean, I think God works in mysterious ways. What seemed like a curse was actually a blessing. They got back in the house by Christmas time. That was important to Mom, and that was just the best feeling looking back, knowing that we were able to spend that time together, to remind us of what's important. Like I said, I was born here, I'm gonna die here. Everything in between is all about how can we make a difference. I've served as mayor of my city the last 8 years, 14 years on council. I've been a 2-term president of the Volusia League of Cities. I'm on the board of directors for the Florida League of Cities. It's about collaboration. How do we work together? We've gained a lot of efficiencies working with our neighbors in neighboring cities, South Daytona, the Shores, Daytona Beach, New Smyrna. Those efficiencies translate to 2 things: better serving our community, and of course, tax savings, which is kind of nice too. So I look forward to the conversation, and I appreciate you having us here tonight. Thank you.
All right, the first question will go to Randy Dye. We're talking about the beach. On July 3rd, we had a drowning on an unguarded beach just north of the band shell. I'll repeat that, just north of the band shell, unguarded beach. We have lifeguard shortage issues, beach patrol issues, setback and erosion issues. How can the county better manage the beach?
Well, I think, first off, the the condolences to the family. I have a neighbor that experienced the same thing. The family lost the husband to a beach accident in Myrtle Beach. So those kinds of tragedies are you just never get over them, and you hope to learn and what can you do to fix it. Clearly, our beach safety is not only critically important to the basic fundamentals of being safe, but also it's important to our community image and how it looks to our nation. We've got to be able to, people have got to want to come to Daytona Beach, they've got to believe that it's safe, and they've got to be able to come here and enjoy the beach. It's one of our most precious natural resources. There are several that I believe are important in our community, but the beach itself, it's one of the first things that I did when I came to Daytona Beach. I visited here in 1976. I was not yet quite 16 years old, and the very first place that my dad took me was out on the beach. Never had experienced a beach in my life. So I have a true fond appreciation for it. And yeah, we've got to devote the resources that it takes to keep it safe, and we've got to devote the resources that make sure it's around for a long, long, long time. Renourishment, making sure that the wildlife that's there, the vegetation that's on the beach. I mean, it's those types of things are very, very important. So I think the first thing is it's got to be a priority, right? It has to be a priority. So I'm like the rest of you. I appreciate it, want to preserve it, want to protect it, and value it greatly.
If I stand over here, is this thing going to go off? Yes. One way to find out?
That was piercing. This is very personal to me. Like I said, I worked on the beach for 10 years. I still know some of the lifeguards because I go down and I spend time with them. I try and encourage them. I got together a few months ago a group of old timers like me that worked on the beach a long time ago because we could see the issue coming. It's hard to hire lifeguards right now. When I was a lifeguard, we had standing room crowds. We didn't have any trouble hiring them. It beat packing groceries at Winn-Dixie. It's a fun job. It's different culture now. And there's several reasons. One is that we're not paying them enough. And so the group that I met with, we talked about all the issues that we could help to recruit and keep good lifeguards. Right now we need summer lifeguards to fill those towers. We were able to get them a raise, $17 an hour. They can go to Buc-ee's and earn $20 an hour. It's just not enough. So if we want a safe beach, we're going to have to pay more. The county started a $1,500 sign-up bonus if they complete the summer period, which is significant to a young person. But we've got to get their pay up, and I think we have given them good working conditions. The other thing is, when I said there's some cultural issues, if you sit on that lifeguard, I was down there yesterday with Channel 6 on just north or just south of the pier. There was so much space between the two lifeguard towers I could hardly see. That's absolutely unacceptable because I've sat towers like that where you can't see to the next guard without binoculars. We have to hire more people. We've had lifeguards go through recruit training and learn that they can't have their cell phone on their tower and they don't come back again because everybody's so used to. We've got to keep reaching out and letting people know that it's the most incredible job you can ever have, and we need to pay them enough to recruit more and keep them. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to start by saying that the chairman is right. You don't pay them enough. We do need to do something about that. And my favorite activity, I grew up on that beach. I still love throwing my bike in the back of the truck and driving down on a Sunday afternoon, parking on the beach and riding and doing it for miles. It's terrific exercise. It's a great way to relieve your mind. And it's a great natural environment, but it is not what it once was. I've been watching it to deteriorate for almost 30 years. I remember when I was a kid, Dad would take me down there, we'd have traffic on both sides of the lanes, and while that wasn't the safest way to do it, it wasn't that big a deal because low tide went out so far, there was still so much space. Now you drive the beach and you pass some of the older buildings with their steps down to the beach side, and you see where they've had to extend them 2, 3, 4 feet because of the missing stand. 6.6 million cubic yards of sand missing from that beach. It did not just disappear because of a hurricane or two a couple years ago. It's been happening for a long time. So we need an active renourishment program. There's a lot of sand in our inlet we can tap into, and this needs to be continuous. We need to talk about beach safety. We shouldn't be driving on a weekend when all the towers should be staffed, certainly in the middle of summer, and see them empty. During the busiest time of the year, right now, July. And certainly all this has to do with, whether it be beach driving or economic development, all this plays in. I've watched this beachside stagnate for the last 30 years, and if we keep doing what we've always done, we're always going to get what we've always had. We need to do it differently. We need the collaborations, and it's going to start with getting the county at the table with the coastal cities and coming up with a long-term plan that works for everybody. The county can't dictate it. We've got to work together because each of these coastal communities is unique and different, and we have to work together. Thank you.
So the question is on safety at the beach, right?
Sorry, the question is on managing the beach, all phases, beach patrol, lifeguards.
So this election for chair, and you can see there's 4 of us up here, is about leadership. And let's talk about leadership at the beach. For 4 years, it's an identified issue. It's still an identified issue. Let's talk leadership. When does that become a priority and brought to council? But one thing that has changed is the beach has been turned over to the sheriff's department, I believe. A lot of it, right? The patrol, a lot of it? The sheriff?
Just law enforcement.
Well, law enforcement, okay, that's safety. So our beach is so critical to all of us, and we know, let's talk about dogs on the beach up in Ormond, right? That passed. Well, today, there was somebody bitten by a dog, not on a leash. I saw the picture of the bite, and it was a hotel in Daytona, and went, oh, look at that. I'm like, well, that's not the dog beach, but okay. So there's things that we can do to make it safer, but we do need more patrol. We need to get those 4x4s back on the beach instead of the pickup trucks, that it's easy not to see somebody laying on the beach and drive over them because they're too high. You can't see over, when you're in a pickup truck, it's more difficult, your line of visibility. We used to have the smaller vehicles that on the beach. We need to bring some of those back for safety reasons. So I support anything that will keep our beach safe, and working with the cities, if the cities going through that, if the cities want to be part of that, but the collaboration, but absolutely support anything we can do. But it's about leadership. If you have an identified issue and you haven't addressed it in four years, let's talk leadership.
Jeff Brower gets the next question. Overdevelopment seems to be accelerating. What can be done to slow it down?
Vote for Jeff Brower on August 20th, and I will continue to fight, because you don't need one less vote on the county council for overdevelopment. I'm the strongest voice and vote that you have on the county council for responsible growth. There's 3 of us that continuously vote to slow down and change our current development pattern, which is destroying parts of our county, destroying original neighborhoods. Those 3 votes are Jeff Brower, Troy Kent, and Don Dempsey. I need one more vote, not one less vote. So there are things that we can do the next council meeting that would stop us, and that's simply to learn to say no. Because what happens is a developer buys land, and it comes with certain zoning rights that he has for it. We have private property rights in America. You buy land, you can do with it what that says. But that's not what they do. They come to the city council or the county council, and they say, I don't want 1 house per 10 acre. I want to put 12 houses per acre, or some of the apartments that you see on Williamson, 74 houses per acre. So I want you to change my zoning. I say no. 2 other members say no, but 4 members say fine. So don't hire another person that is funded by that development community and think you're going to get anything different than what you have with the 4 that were already funded by the development district. We need to learn to say no. We need to incorporate low-impact development into Volusia County, which means the end of clear cutting and the end of draining wetlands. That is destroying neighborhoods by flooding them out all around these neighborhoods that we're raising 5 feet higher than anybody else. It needs to stop. And I brought that to the council and have voted for it. And I need one more vote.
Well, I think it's somewhat ironic that we talk about overdevelopment. So you got 17 agencies that issue permits in this county, 16 cities in the county. Daytona Beach issued 900 and some odd residential permits last year. The number 2 originator of residential permits was the county of Volusia last year, 727 permits. So yes, that's the problem. We're talking about it, but we're also issuing the permits. It's happening right now. We talk about land preservation. About 1/5 of the land held in preservation in this county is in the city of Port Orange. We have 10,000 acres of land in preservation west of our city that will never be developed. That's how you keep it from being developed. And once you have it in preservation, you can do things like mitigation banks for trees and turtles and things like that. That's what we've been doing. We've got reclaim lakes. And unlike some of the other cities, as a general practice, 0 gallons of treated water are dumped into the Halifax every day by the city of Port Orange because of our reclaimed water program. That needs to be advanced everywhere, because when we have good reclaimed water programs, not only are we taking care of the water we have, but we're also generating water to recharge the aquifer. We need to be buying land like crazy every opportunity we get. We need to be preserving as much as we can in the core of this county, because once it's gone, it's gone.
Overdevelopment. It's interesting, we're going to talk about leadership again, because there is a history here. It's the same thing, same words 4 years ago. What's changed? You can't get the votes in the council, so I think it was in 2022, the exact quote was, he was the only vote. One couldn't change another vote in the council, so what do? You run your own slate of candidates called values voters against your own council, because you can't work with the electeds that you, the people, put in from all over the county, because you know better than everybody else. That's not leadership. That's not how it works. We are a republic, a representative democratic republic. So let's talk about overdevelopment here and low-impact development. Find out exactly how Volusia County has changed their zoning. You could change the zoning. You had 4 years to do that. What has changed? Name one. Name one. Name one. There was a situation in Bellaire Springs overdevelopment and water quality and infrastructure. They want to run fresh water up U-17 for the business district in McGinnis Elementary up there. The water was so bad the kids couldn't drink out of the water fountains up there. I supported that. He said it was going to turn it back into Flint, Michigan, and turn us back. And I think next one's returning to Miami. You know, enough with the clickbait. Enough. We need leadership that'll talk real issues and work with the electeds that are there, that you, the people, put in, whether you agree with it or not. It's the people's will. So, do we need to work with it? We do. We need to work with all the agencies, and we will. But there's got to be a workaround. You can't just, in election time, keep using these terms. Thank you.
And I have to ask you, let's try to keep our comments aimed at the issue and not a person.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm going to give you a little different perspective. I think, number one, when you talk about I don't believe in talking about or villainizing a group of people. So when you talk about developers, that means that, how many of you have in the last year needed a plumber? Anybody gonna raise your hand? Okay. How many of you in the last year needed an electrician? How many in the last year might have needed a roofer? So you understand, these people are all employed by people who develop and build. And so, you know, you gotta be careful about the position you take on groups of people. Our economy depends an awful lot on the people who have these jobs. So at the end of the day, you know, there's no perfect solution. I grew up in the country in Northwest Pennsylvania. I appreciate the land. I appreciate fresh water. I went fishing all the time. You know, we don't call them creeks where I come from, we call them cricks, right? That's the way it was where I come from. So I appreciate that. And we had lots of space to run. And we've got to be able to preserve that space. At the same time, we are all Americans and we all believe in the Constitution. And property owners do have rights. And we do need to be respectful of those rights, but we can't constantly be looking. An exception is supposed to be just that. It's not supposed to be ordinary business. It's supposed to be an occasional reason. What is it? Why? And the other thing that I would say about all this, most of us feel really uptight, including me, about the development pace, the rate that it's occurring. It's happening at a pace where we're not used to. Part of that, what happens is when it used to take us 10 minutes to go to the grocery store to get there, now it takes 20. And so infrastructure is a part of this. If we do infrastructure right, we don't have the negative impact of overdevelopment like we feel right today. Thank you.
The question involves our ambulance service. Volusia County has roughly 24 ambulances on the road at any time, servicing more than 500,000 people. Up in Ormond Beach, on the beach side of the unincorporated Ormond by the Sea, the nearest ambulance is normally stationed over near Nova Road. Is this level of service acceptable?
Not even close. I've already been talking about this, and I will continue to talk about this. The county has an ambulance service system that is broken. My city has an ambulance, and we run out of our fire department because we were unhappy with the level of service we got. Twice a day it's sent out of our city because the county can't cover the rest of it. And we got a pretty large area to cover. Twice a day. We could go to Ormond Beach. We've been called Orange City. And we're not going to deny going on calls where there's a legitimate emergency. Somebody needs help and they're dying, they need help. We're going to do that. But it's a symptom of a larger problem. And I'm not the only city. I've talked to Ponce Inlet. I've talked to Edgewater. All of them who run ambulance units are doing it because they're unhappy and just simply baffled by why we haven't been able to solve this problem and why we're not even talking about it. That's what bothers me, is we're not even talking about it. And that's going to be one of my first priorities when I take office in January, is the very first meeting, because there's a lot of ways that we can do it better. There's a lot of ways we can do it better. It's not just staffing. It's the work conditions certainly is important. Staffing, the agreements you have for non-emergency transport, the agreements you have with the cities who help and aid with transport. All these things, you can have a hub and spoke system, but if you don't have enough components of it, and we do not, because if we did, we wouldn't be leaving our city twice a day to help others out. And we'll continue to do it, because we're not going to leave anybody out. We're not going to not answer those calls. But on the backs of the Port Orange taxpayers, if we have to answer a call in Ormond Beach, we'll do it. But is it fair? You can't tell me that that's not a broken system.
We definitely need to address it. But as a population growth grows in Volusia County, and we're growing, it's difficult to keep up with the growth in all the service areas. But another piece to this is how the ambulances and emergency systems get stacked up at hospitals and in that queue. they get set in that queue at the hospitals for quite a while. So now if you've got 1, 2, or 3 ambulances sitting in a queue at a hospital, that's backing the cities up, that's backing the county up. Is it an issue? It absolutely is. How we fund it and how we work with that, you've got so many things that cross over here. Don alluded to it. A lot of the cities, I know that Deltona has put on some extra with their fire and their transport also. You've got union contracts, you've got negotiations, there's so many layers to this. Does it need to be addressed? It does. We have a growing population and an aging population, right? And so we have more demand for services. So absolutely, we need to look at that, we need to review it, but there's multiple layers with this for sure.
So I'm going to disagree a little bit. There are plenty of people talking about it. You talk to the firefighters, they'll talk about it. You talk to the local hospitals, they'll talk about it. There are people in the county staff that will talk about it. What is not happening is we're not getting together at the same table and sitting down how to resolve and figuring out how to resolve the problem. So this is, it's really a matter of, okay, why? I already have figured out what part of this issue is. There are certain places where it's profitable, and we've got to understand. That's why everybody's turf. There's a turf war over this, right? So we got to go. Wait a minute. This is really not about being profitable. This is about providing a service to our citizens and making sure that we have adequate resources to take care of the need as it's presented. Deb, absolutely, there's more people here, so there are going to be more calls, and that's substantiated. The bottom line is we've got to get together, the different municipalities. This is one of those choices where we've got to go, okay, let's put the boundaries behind it. And I appreciate what the mayor said about they'll take care of answering the call a long ways away from from his city is to make sure it gets done. But that shouldn't be required. We should have stations where the population is served or ready, because an emergency, seconds, minutes matter. And so we've got to get to the table. This is not going to be resolved easy. I've found everybody wants a piece of this pie. And so we've got to bring those who want to eat the pie into the table, sit down, and let's have dinner and figure it out.
I'm walking up here because I don't want to talk from behind everybody. When I ran for office, there was an extreme problem with response times for emergency medical services. So I did meet with other people. I met with firefighters and I met with EMS personnel. We met in Orange City, we met in DeLand, and I'll tell you what we talked about. The firefighters came to me first and said, EMS is not going to complain to you, but I will. Carl Kusamani, he's now a brigade leader. We weren't keeping people. And so for me, that was unacceptable. And I started screaming about it. So when I got elected, the staff had heard me and they knew I was going to be serious and they already had plans in place. But what I brought to the county council was, this is what I learned. Our EMS people are fleeing Volusia County because they go out on a call, they get bled on, they get puked on, they get spit on, they get urinated on, and then they go to a filthy, dirty gas station, a convenience store gas station, and try and get cleaned up. They had horrible working conditions. I said, that's not acceptable, and the county council agreed and said, we agree, that's not acceptable, let's change it. So now we have 6 workstations strategically placed around the county that when they get puked on, pissed on, they get to go there and in a clean place get changed and get something to eat. And we also increased their pay. So now they are, I'm sorry, but I reject what you just heard, that we have people that don't care and are in it for the money to collect insurance. We have 2 dedicated ambulances that do take transport out of town, not emergency, to hospitals in Orlando. We have great people in EMS, and I will not throw them under the bus, and we are helping them do their job better. We've attacked it, and we're on our way to having the best response times in the county.
Final question. We'll start with Deb Denny's. Council is in the middle of the budget cycle. We heard last night up in Norman that we're trying to keep the millage near or close to rollback. With federal and state subsidies for Sunrail expiring, Volusia County's bill for Sunrail is coming due. How will it be paid?
That's the question. And let's just level the playing field here. The council that sits there and the two councils that I served with, none of us had anything to do with voting for Sunrail. And I don't think Sunrail would have passed had we had different configurations of council at the time, because it was not good for Volusia, and we fought it for a very long time. We fought it for a very long time. Tried to stop it actually from coming into the land. But yes, that bill is coming due, so you're seeing it would have been a lower rate, but I like the way staff presented it. They added that extra millage, identifying that as Sunrail. So what's gonna happen is you're either gonna have to fund that and leverage that through bond to take it out of transportation dollars where there's none, or it's coming out of the general fund. It has to come from somewhere. But it's a bill that's come paid. We can't ignore it. We're in it legally. We've challenged it for years and years. So it's here to stay. I don't support expansion. I know there's some word on the street, though, should we expand Sunrail? The word is absolutely not. We don't. But as far as the budget goes, it's interesting. The council floated the idea of adding .0855 millage, which is 5 mils, to add $5 million for infrastructure into the general fund. Well, that's really good. That's really good, but it's still an increase, but we have to look at infrastructure. You can't cut taxes and say you're gonna cut the millage and then do something else, and well, you don't have to pay for that, Volusia County, because we're gonna take that out of the general fund. It's like a balloon. You poke it this way, it's gonna come out the other way. So the budget in Volusia County is very complicated. It is very complicated. But Sunrail, it's here, like it or not.
Thank you. I don't know, apologize to the chairman if he misunderstood what I said about the EMS. I'm not taking exception to anybody that works at EMS. I'm talking about the people, the decision makers, with regard to this ambulance issue that we've got and transport. We've got to get in the same room and come up with a solution. Daytona State College does a phenomenal job at training EMS and training first responders across the board. We have plenty of people that attend those courses in DeLand. And so it's this I didn't say anything at all about the people who work in that area. I said the leadership of the stakeholders need to get together and we can resolve the problem. With regard to Sunrail. So I think, I agree, nobody that's sitting here made that decision. So it's going to take some very creative and I think non-traditional thinking to be able to figure out how to pay the bill. So we know why we have it, we know that what its purpose is or what it's used for is, but maybe there are other creative things that we can do with Sunrail that would help mitigate the cost of Sunrail. So I would say that instead of going, well, we're just gonna go traditional and we're gonna just figure out what the millage rate, we're gonna put it on the back of the taxpayers, maybe we can do some interesting thinking and almost recreational or, create a reason to go there and hold events and create an environment that says this is a pretty cool thing. We can work with a destination because we don't want to take money from the things that we need and give it to Sunrail. So there's kind of my idea in brief.
Thank you for that apology, Randy, but you didn't need to. I didn't hear you say that, but I did hear it, and you did not throw anybody under the bus.
Okay, thanks.
Sunrail. Here's what I've done with Sunrail. I appointed myself to the Sunrail committee when I get elected. I didn't really need the job, but I knew it was going to be really, really expensive, and so I wanted to have a seat at the table. This year, they're completing the line by building a station in DeLand, Florida. That ends the original mandate to have Sunrail. And so I was appointed fortuitously as chairman of the Sunrail Commission while our station is being built. That gave Jeff Brower, George Rechtenwald, Laura Coleman, and John Booker, all staff members of the county, a seat at the table every single week with the Secretary of Transportation to figure out what we're going to do with Sunrail. Laura Coleman was able to negotiate an unbelievable contract with Sunrail that will save us probably $5 million a year. So instead of looking at $10 or $15 million a year, we're down to somewhere between $6 and $8 million a year. Still a lot of money, still really expensive. The other thing that I did, I said, I want our people to be able to go from here to wherever else Sunrail goes. But I want all those people in 5 different counties to come here and leave their money in Volusia County and enjoy it. So I have negotiated with residents of DeLand and some from Daytona Beach to make our station the best station in the, we're going to be the only station that, this is going to blow your mind, that has a bathroom in it. None of them have bathrooms in them. I said, I want a bathroom, I want a bike station here, I want a trailhead here so that we have tremendous trails in Volusia County. Let's bring all those other people here to use our trails and go downtown DeLand and spend the money and then come to Daytona Beach, King.
We talk about the budget, we talk about Sunrail, and there's a few things that we need to remember. First of all, in concept, there was conversation about when we added Sunrail, it should come all the way to Daytona Beach. It's never going to happen because it's not cost effective to do it. I can get in a car and drive to a Sunrail station in DeLand or DeBerry and get on the train in the amount of time I can just go ahead and drive to Seminole County. So there's no practical aspect of Sunrail that a lot of people here are going to use. So we do have to look for other ways and means. The city of DeBerry is being creative. One thing they're trying to do is focus their development around their Sunrail station, which I think is good because that helps prevent sprawl and creates users. You create users, you also have user fees, and that helps defer some of the cost. So smart on DeBerry. I'm kind of weary about a bathroom, only because it's great when you get off and you got to use one, but when you walk into a bathroom and you see the current resident, homeless resident there, there's the unintended consequences of things like that. So we got to be careful with those things. Sunrail is never going to pay for itself, and to make it worse, it's not even practical because you have a Monday through Friday daytime service. I'd like to be able to drive to take it to Winter Park, maybe on an afternoon on a Saturday. It's just not practical. What if you have somebody that wants to use it to commute to work? If you don't get off work on time because you're working late, you can't, it's just not practical. So there's so many ways that we're just going to have to find to get creative about how we use it. And like I said, bully on DeBerry, they've done a great job with that focus. Now we've got an additional $43.8 million in the budget from last year because of new construction. So we've got dollars. And that's going to rollback. So we got tens of millions of dollars there. How are we spending it? That's the question we got to ask. We've got a lot of priorities, and those are the things we need to address. Thank you.
All right, I think we're right on the money here. We're going to do our closing statements. We're going to start with Randy Dunn.
Well, thank you. I appreciate everybody being here, your attention. You've been very courteous, and I certainly appreciate that. You know, the thing that I want to talk about as we close this down, this comes not from me. This comes from somewhere around 16 months of going around our county and listening to people and hearing what they have to say, and you know where their disappointment lies. So this actually came up last night in the debate or the forum in Ormond Beach. There was a conversation about communication. The question was, how could you help the communication between the city and its residents? And here's my answer to that, and it goes for the county too. I know a lot of people have gotten disengaged in this process. And they've gotten disengaged, and I'm not saying it's just people sitting up here, I'm not saying that. I'm saying over a period of time, people have left the process. They left the process because they've been disappointed, promises have been made, they've thought things were going to go a certain way, they've heard half-truths, sometimes just flat-out lies. So one of the things I will tell you that I will do, and I'm going to make this short and finish it up, is this. The 3 T's. Truth, transparency, and trust. You may not like what I say, but I will tell you the truth. It will be transparent about where that came from, and then I hope at that point we'll have earned your trust enough that you'll get involved and you'll participate in the process. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. I made some notes during the 3 words of notes during this conversation. I am so glad that you came here tonight. It's one of the best things that we can do is to engage with the public. I wish that it had been a question-answer period from all of you. But I want to deal with a couple things that were said because they're just flat out untrue. And I hear them every time we go out, and you need to know it, because when my character is questioned, I've grown really thick-skinned. You have to, and when you run for office, you know you're going to get some barbs. But one of the things that you heard is that was Michigan and their water. I've heard it said in other forums that I voted against fresh water from my own town in DeLeon Springs. That's just flat out false. It was a unanimous vote. We all voted for fresh water to get to DeLeon Springs for the businesses along the corridor. So when you hear that, just know it ain't true. The other thing was the slate of candidates, which just makes me laugh because what you were just told is that I worked against my own council to replace them. That's not true. There was 5 of them that were term limited out and weren't coming back. So you got a chance to vote for a brand new county council. There was 5 new people going to come in. And yes, I picked people that I thought would join me in a vote for responsible growth and to slow down the way that we're growing, the places that we're developing, the wetlands we're draining, and I don't apologize for that. I don't work for the council. I don't work for the county staff. I work for you, and I will be your voice, and I'll vote for you every single time, and they can say Jeff is a one-person vote sometimes. I'll hold that with honor if it's a vote for you. Thank you. Please vote for Jeff Brower August 12th.
My turn to stand in front of you?
Yes.
Okay. I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight, and frankly, all 4 of us are good people with good hearts and care about this community. We've got 4 different approaches, so you have the opportunity to hear our sound bites tonight. And in 2-minute clips, that's what you're getting, is sound bites. You want to hear more? I know we're all available. My cell phone number is 386-295-5760. My cell phone is I have a city cell phone. It's posted on a website. People think they're calling my office, they're calling me. I'll have a conversation. I'm willing to debate anybody, any one of these people, anywhere, anytime. We'll talk about issues. Let's make a difference. My dad taught me at a young age that nobody does anything big alone. Having one voice is important, but being able to get people to get together and work on things together is just as important if you're actually going to make that difference. One thing I learned as being mayor of the city council is that I don't always get what I want. I serve with 5 type A personalities. They all know how to argue, but we do it sensibly, and at the end of the day, we get what we need. And we need to know how to manage that, because that's for the good of the community. We need to have a county that works with its cities and its communities and not dictate to them. That's got to change. Like I said, we're all up here. We have great approaches, but they're all very different. Listen to us. I got on the ballot because I went out and collected 5,000 signatures. I did the hard work to qualify by petition. Not everybody up here did. I have no paid campaign workers. This is a grassroots campaign. This is a campaign about you. And I'm going to work for you, not the chosen. I'm Don Burnett. I'm running for county chair.
Thanks, Don. That was a paid political announcement, right? First of all, folks, again, thank you for coming out. You can see there's 4 strong leaders up here with strong approaches. And some of us have a little more historical knowledge than others and been around and seen the issues and actually have the facts to back them up. But I'm Deb Denny's. I'm running for Volusia County Chair. And I totally agree with Don. Give us a call. These sound bites don't work because these issues are so multifaceted and multidimensional and have so many more agencies, bureaucracies, and groups attached to them to get to an answer, to get to leadership, to get to the collaboration. Leadership doesn't happen in a vacuum, and one thing that I've learned is there's truth in tension. Meaning there's a little bit of truth on all sides. The goal of a leader is to find out where you're working, who you're working with, and be able to decipher that and come to a conclusion of the majority, and then move forward. That's what leadership is. And I'm Deb Denny's. I thank you for your time and look forward to hopefully speaking with you again, and appreciate my colleagues here, and just go vote August 20th. Thank you so much.
Thanks for a great forum.